Here's the deal. If you've tried to get someone to change and you've sat them down and you've asked them 100 times to change, let me tell you something. They understood the message. They just don't want to change. So you have two options. Just two. Number one, you can sit with yourself and figure out, is this a deal breaker for me? Or, unfortunately, number two, you can leave this person behind. Now, I challenge you to get really clear on whether or not this is a non-negotiable for you. Because if it is, then I want you to honor that. And I want you to stay true to your needs. And if they're not being met, then you've got to walk away.
Ooh, yeah. I'm gonna have to go ahead and sort of disagree with you there.
If there's any notion to a modern relationship that's just downright insulting, it's the concept of making a man quote-unquote change. When a woman says that a man won't change for her, it sounds like the man will only be good enough if he does something to completely alter his behavior or personality in order to cater to her desires, while also simultaneously refusing to do anything herself. The man must embrace that woman for all of her imperfections because it's her scars, trauma, and other baggage that make her worth the work. But at the same time, the man must not only take care of any issues that he has before getting into any form of relationship, he must also rewire his personality in order to be worthy of her broken presence, which isn't fair at all. The woman can absolutely set boundaries. That's not the issue here. The issue is this notion that a man can completely change who he is because a woman told him to. And that's not how brains work. We are who we are. And if you can't accept a man's imperfections for what they are, then why are you even bothering getting into a relationship? You're not perfect either, sweetheart.
I can see that this discussion is going in circles. So we're gonna go now. Okay?
Husbands, a few common ways that wives say that they feel unloved by their men. Invalidating her feelings. Don't say things like, it's not that big of a deal, or why do you care so much? Those things are not validating her concerns or her feelings about something. On his phone often. This is a common complaint that we hear, that women just feel so disconnected because he'd rather be on his phone than look in her eyes and have a conversation.
Day and night she talks. Each word more useless than the next.
Oh, please. Unloved? Are you seriously going there? It's really no wonder why self-respecting men aren't exactly lining up to get married nowadays. Unreasonably high financial gambles notwithstanding, the whole concept of Western marriages are completely pointless. Modern women have hinged way too much on the idea that if a marriage doesn't make her feel loved and happy all of the time, then it's ultimately failed and it's the man's fault for either doing too much or not enough. You've set ambiguously impossible standards for this man, and then you get dramatic when he fails to reach the expectations that you can't even clearly define in the first place. And if that's how you feel, then there's no hope for you because you've already started looking for reasons to resent this man. And if you've reached that point, then you have no business getting married in the first place, woman.
Storms out during a fight. Oh my goodness. When you walk out in the middle of a fight, it really communicates to her that her needs and her concerns are not valid and you don't love her. That's what we hear. Spends more time with recreational activities than with her, whether it's video games or it's golf. If you spend so much time doing those things and so little time with her, she's not going to feel loved by you. And lastly, a big one that we hear is doesn't help with things at home. If your wife is shouldering the majority of the things at home, how can you support her? How can you show her you love? By offering her that help at home.
You! I will think of you as I throw up into the toilet.
All right, lady, if you're going to hold men to these standards, then you are obligated to hold yourself to the same standards as well. That means no storming out on your husband when he says how he loads the dishwasher isn't that big of a deal. Typically, if a man is storming out, he has had enough of the anger and needs things to calm down so that the issue can be resolved with cooler heads. It doesn't mean he doesn't love you. If he spends a few hours a week golfing or playing video games, he is not disregarding you. And in regards to the housework, it's awfully convenient that suddenly, almost seemingly out of nowhere, we've had this massive epidemic of seemingly lazy husbands who just treat their wives like indentured servants. And it's not like he's not helping you. He's not helping you in the way that you want. And yes, there is a difference. And to twist that knife even deeper, you tell him that when he doesn't put away the coffee mugs just the way that you want, it's a sign that he doesn't love you. And this is exactly why men don't want to bother anymore. Why should a man put himself with such pain knowing that his wife is fantasizing about cutting his brake cables when he's not folding the towels properly?
Yeah, that checks out. That sounds about right.
So I've got a lot of beef, 10 pounds to be exact, a pound for everybody that I want to pick a bone with. So the first person I have a bone to pick with is my ex. When I first met him, I was a spicy dancer, and he was like, oh, that's so cool, that's so neat, like, I love sex workers, I love supporting them. I'm like, all right, bet, whatever. He bought me a drink at the bar, and he pestered me so hard to give me his number, so I finally gave in and gave it to him. Mistake, shouldn't have done that, and then we ended up dating somehow for 5 months, 5 wasted months.
What's that, shit? It's a shit smell. Is that you? Smells like pop-pop.
Hey, I hate to break it to you, sister, but what you're saying makes absolutely zero sense. According to the way you're telling this quote-unquote story, you had absolutely no interest in this man and only begrudgingly took his phone number, and then you somehow decided to stay with this guy for months, despite you making it sound like you weren't even interested in the first place. So my guess is that this man was a massive simp, because no self-respecting man is cool with dating a woman who does the kind of work you do. It's emasculating and embarrassing to know that the woman he's dating takes her clothes off for money. But a simp will pretend to be cool with what you do if it means he has a shot of no longer being lonely. And you were clearly willing to settle for less because Chad wanted nothing to do with you outside of the occasional hookup. And considering your intentional omission of key details, I'm forced to assume you're more ashamed of yourself than you are of this guy. On a scale of 1 to 10, how close am I getting here?
10.
But anyways, those months were a waste because like a month into our relationship of us dating or whatever, I had taken off from the club. I wanted to like spend like good quality time with him or whatever. I was like, you know, all right, it's about time that, you know, I get back to work. I had rent to pay, whatever. And he was like, what do you mean? You're going back to work? What about my soul? And I'm like, wait, what? I thought you said that strippers were cool and that you like them and that you didn't have any issue with my work. But suddenly, it was a big old ordeal. So a couple months go by, I'm still dating this dude. I'm feeling like so just down. Like I felt so stifled. I was like working extra at my restaurant job, which just was not cutting it with the bills. And also he had like moved in, like he'd somehow, you know, was just at my place all the time. And you know, it's not like he was paying rent or anything. So I'm like, oh my God, like I need to pay my bills. I need to get back to work. I need to go back to the club, but he was not about it. So one night, maybe you consider this cheating, some people would. I don't think it is at all because I was just going to work. I was like, okay. I went to work, I went back to the club. All the girls were like, girl, where have you been? Like, it's a man, isn't it? I was like, yes. And they're like, girl, like, how could you be so dumb? Like, just get back to work, like, you know, dump his ass. And I was like, yeah, you're right, because the girls at the club, they're always right.
Emotional damage!
And this is just one of the many, oh so many reasons why self-respecting men want nothing to do with the spice miners of the less than pants variety. It doesn't matter what he says in the beginning. Once he gets a dose of the reality of your situation, it really does bother him, and at least this guy had enough sense to tell you to your face. But instead of having a mature discussion with him, you betrayed his trust by going back to the club behind his back. And here is the best part. You decided to consult with the wisest of old sages, which just so happened to be fellow spice miners, for the best course of action in regards to your income, and the rational decision you came up was to break up with this guy instead of just doing that before disrespecting his trust. And it's kind of tough for me to have sympathy for you when you're acting like a victim when you clearly have no respect for the man you're currently dating.
Actually, I'm gonna take that back. I didn't do anything at work that would constitute as cheating, but he kept on getting in my head about, you know, his soul and like, you know, my connection with customers. And I'm like, man, like he was all like pro sex work and then like not at all. Like it was so weird. But anyways, a couple mornings later, I'm like laying there in bed in the morning and I knew I had to break up with him that day and I had meant to do it the night before. And he's just going on and on about how he wants to go to REI and spend his REI dividend points. And I was like, this is the last thing I want to be talking about right now. So then I was just like, okay, we need to have a discussion. And then his face fell flat and discussion was had. And I went back to the club happily ever after. So that's beef number 1.
Alright, I'm gonna level with you, sister. You dance naked for other men unbeknownst to the man you are currently seeing. Regardless of the definition, you betrayed that man's trust when you did that. That's just the honest truth right there. And he didn't get it into your head. There was a part of you that knew what you did was wrong, but you disregarded it because of rent money. Your ex-boyfriend had a valid point about the connection you have with your customers considering your profession, and to throw it away like it's no big deal is just a clear indication that you treated this man like dirt. And I'm not exactly seeing how what this dude did constitutes you having a beef with this guy. If anything, it should be the other way around. You ended the relationship and he didn't stalk you, he didn't try to hurt you, and it doesn't sound like he did anything that could even remotely resemble inhuman. So what's your point? Well, let me answer that question for you, sister. There is no point. You're just desperate for attention.
I know it, your family knows it. Dogs know it.
These are 4 signs of a high-value man. It's rare to come across high-value people, so when we do, we must give them our respect. If you see these 4 qualities in your partner, or if you're a man and you know you have these 4 qualities, congratulations. So number 1, when you're with a high-value man, he spends time with you without expectations on you. He's simply with you because he wants to be with you, not because he's getting something in return. Number 2, a high-value man keeps his promises. He's very loyal. You can observe this in the promises that he keeps for you, for his friends, for his family members. He just is a very loyal person.
That is without a doubt the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Wow, that is delusional right there. A man who's worked for everything in his life isn't just going to let anybody in and not expect anything in return. If a man is interested in you, he is going to want you to bring him some peace and add some value onto his life, and that is not too big of an ask. He's not just going to want to bask in that stench you assume is glorious. He's too busy working to waste his time with that. And what's really crazy is how you think honesty is somehow this rare trait when a majority of the men that you ignore hold honesty in high regard, as it truly is an important virtue. It's not nearly as rare as you think. So the more I think about it, the more I think what you meant to say is that it's rare for you to find a wealthy man who wants more from you than just some bedroom action. There, fixed it for you. You're welcome.
Number 3, a high-value man gives honest feedback and constructive criticism. He wants to see you win, and sometimes he plays the role of giving you tough love, which can be perceived in an offensive way, but should be acknowledged in the way that he's respecting you and wants to see you do your best.
Are you sure?
That's an interesting idea there, Toots. Want to throw out any other brilliant suggestions? How about spastically dancing backwards across an obstacle course of landmines, bear traps, trapdoors filled with poop-covered bungee sticks, and ultra-starved alligators? Actually, that would probably be the safer option. For this one, you might as well just openly say that you want to be hostile towards men, because this is how you make that happen. The only form of constructive criticism that any modern woman wants to hear is that she's too perfect, and even then, there is still a 95% chance of rolling a nat 1 on that one.
Last but not least, number 4, you feel safe around a high-value man. He wants to protect you, and you feel at ease in his presence. Not only do you feel physically safe around him, you feel mentally safe. You feel calm and at ease. Your heart's not racing. You feel this sense of peace. It's really beautiful. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below what you think, and give me a follow here and my Instagram for more content like this.
No.
You know what? I would admit that what she's saying is a nice thing, because it is a great compliment to hear when a woman is telling him that she feels safe around him. The only thing that sucks about this whole thing is the fact that this woman is gatekeeping this particular virtue for rare, high-value men and nobody else, which, in a way, implies that the majority of men are just unsafe losers, and that's what's really messed up about this whole thing. There are literally millions of good men out there who are honest, hardworking, and will move heaven and earth to protect his woman, but none of that is good enough for these bras when they have to create lists of what they deem to be acceptable. Meanwhile, if we have a list of what makes a woman high value, we're told that we're wrong, sexist, and the worst thing to happen to humanity since the inception of Hootie and the Blowfish. And if that's how you truly feel about the majority of men, then I'm just going to be the bigger man and leave you alone. And after a few years, I'm just go ahead and let you cry. Because I got better things to do than hold your freaking hand because nobody wants to be with you. You see what I did there? Please tell me you saw what I did. And that's gonna do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button. Ring the notification bell, leave a couple of comments, and share this video so we can give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for checking out the new video, and until next time, peace out, homies.